Ndapasina kupindira kwaeshe nechokwadi pasi pano taiona moto marongera vanoita wepanyika vanoda kuti.
Thank you so much, Deputy Director Chiratidzo. Good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies, comrades and friends of the Fourth Estate. I see you've come in your numbers. I'm always happy to welcome you to Zanu PF headquarters, the home of the permanent Zimbabwe Revolution. You are our interface with the public, both domestic, regional, continental, and global. So it's not both, it's all of them. Without you, our message would not get through of the many good works which we are doing for the people of Zimbabwe as the ruling party, of the challenges which we face as the ruling party, but also the opportunities which we seize as a ruling party dedicated to bring prosperity to Zimbabwe as a homage to the generation of sacrifice from the 1960s and 70s who made the freedom of Zimbabwe and the rebirth of Zimbabwe be possible. That is our covenant with our departed comrades, and we are having this press conference a month after the Defense Forces Day, also after the Heroes Days. So it is quite in order that we have this press briefing with you. And we have had also several Politburo meetings, including the one last week. And on each occasion, the President delivered keynote speeches. And those keynote speeches were a pointer as to what is the menu of the ruling party and its organs on the way forward for Zimbabwe. We are also having this press conference a month before our seminal annual event, which is the party conference. The party conference this time is going to be held in Mutare. This is Manicaland province, and it will also be paying homage to this heroic province of Zimbabwe. Yes, the revolution, the armed aspect of the revolution was implanted along the Zambezi Valley with an anchor in 1969, 71, 72, 73 in the northeast of Zimbabwe, which is Mashonaland Central Province. After the freedom of Mozambique in 1974, after the collapse of the detente exercise in 1975, the armed forces of the liberation movements united in Tanzania and were given an opportunity to start the war at a much higher level in Mozambique by President Samora Machel. So from that time onwards, there's an influx of Zimbabwean recruits initially in their hundreds, then in their thousands, in their tens of thousands, then maybe even in their hundreds of thousands. Most of them, 80% of them, passed through Manicaland to go to Mozambique, which became our new real base for the revolution. And again, 80%, if not more, passed through Manicaland back to fight in Zimbabwe. So it is befitting that this province, which became the bastion of the Chimurenga II, at the hour of victory between 75 and 79, 9 should be honored with this party conference and its rightful place in the birth of modern Zimbabwe be recognized. So the ruling party, through its national chairperson, Comrade Opam Chinguri, has been going flat out to make sure that our conference in Manicaland is one of the most wonderful, one of the most faithful in terms of the decisions of economic importance to Zimbabwe. It will be pregnant with resolutions focused on increasing the prosperity of the people of Zimbabwe as our economy gathers pace at a pace which no one even feels jealous about anymore, which even detractors, they are now hiding behind pillows, blankets, under blankets, because we have made it in terms of delivering a modern economy to Zimbabwe. So the work schedule of the party conference will recognize the fact that for the first time in 75 years, major exports of Zimbabwe and the neighboring region, the neighboring hinterland, are now passing through Mutare to Beira, as opposed to going through Bight Bridge and Musina to Durban. This is a major turnaround of the economic performance of Zimbabwe. And if there's anybody who wants to see the testament of President Mnangagwa and the Second Republic at work, it is this singular development that Beira and Mutare have been restored as the natural gateway of Zimbabwean exports. Remember, Durban is 2,000 kilometers away from Zimbabwe, from Harare. Mutare is only 300 kilometers away from from Beira in Mozambique. It is not an issue which should confound anyone that the inflation factor which was emanating from using Durban as our port of export was huge. A container leaves New York or Shanghai, arrives in Durban, it has to be carted 2,000 kilometers away to Zimbabwe, maybe 6,000 kilometers to the DRC, because the port of Beira was not working since 1965. It has not properly worked because of UDI. Afterwards, it was because of the sanctions against UDI by the United Nations, against Rhodesia. Afterwards, it was the declaration of war and the closure of the border by President Samora Machel. Afterwards, it was, even after independence, it was South Africa prosecuting a proxy war against Zimbabwe through Renamo in Mozambique. You know, remember, we had to deploy our army to defeat Renamo in Mozambique, the epic battles of Casabanana, Gorongosa, Mutarara, which were fought by the Zimbabwe Defense Forces to defeat the proxies of apartheid South Africa. Again, this was born mostly by Manicaland as the bordering province of Mozambique. So these geopolitical issues made Mutare, made Beira lose their status as the eastern gateway of Zimbabwean exports, of the hinterland exports. We are only 5 years into the Second Republic of President Mnangagwa. What a dramatic turnaround that Beira and Mutare now carry more of our exports to the world than Durban, which is far away. And the future of this region is even brighter when you consider that it faces the Indian Ocean and the major emerging global economic powers of the world. China is now number 2 globally, 1.3 billion people. India is now number 4 globally, 1.2 to 1.3 billion people. Indonesia has got 400 million people. I haven't talked of Pakistan, Bangladesh. I haven't even added the fund-rich Middle East and the countries like Iran, 80 million people. This is the interface which is now before Zimbabwe because of the economic performance which has been registered by the Second Republic. It means that we will have a faster access to global markets, and the inflation factor which is associated with the artificial dependence of the South African ports, which was imposed on us by apartheid, is now a thing of the past. President Mnangagwa has restored the glory of Manicaland to Zimbabwe. It is now refinding its rightful place in the national economy, in the regional economy. And if you go today to Mutare, the place is awash with trucks all over, 30-ton trucks. You would be hard put to even drive at a fast pace along the streets of Mutare. The border is bursting on its seams. So this is why we are going to focus on the economic aspects of a new economy which Zanu PF has given to the people of Zimbabwe under the guidance of President E.D. Mnangagwa. He has done miracles. And for clarity, I just want to highlight what are the major sinews of this economy. All of them have an imprimatur, they have a footprint of our current president. You know, the economy was in doldrums. 2008, we lost our currency completely. We became the bane of the world with hyperinflation, where the inflation rate was faster than the speed of light. How that could be possible from a physics point of view, it's an impossibility. But somebody was manipulating a calculator against our economy. In 2008, I give you one index. Our gold production slumped to 3 tons in 2008. We were kicked out of the London Bullion Market Association, which is the regulator of the gold trade. We used historically to have always a seat on the London Bullion Market Association in London. Not surprising, because the history of this country is the history of gold. The great Zimbabwe civilization had a stable currency. That's why we could build consistently for 8 centuries. There was currency stability. We didn't have a printing press. What was the money? Gold. So even under colonial rule, Zimbabwe had huge gold reserves. That's why Ian Smith could say to the world, I don't care about you because I've got to earn my currency. Because he knew that he was digging gold in Zimbabwe to support his minority regime. At independence, the Zimbabwe dollar was actually worth twice more than the US dollar. The Rhodesian dollar, I mean, at that time. So this is where we were in 2008. We were kicked out of an industry where we were one of the main players for decades and for centuries. What has since happened? In 2013, we made a resolution as the war veterans to legalize SME gold miners. In 2016, I was in cabinet, and the former Minister of Finance, the Minister of Mines at that time, Dr. Mpofu, who is my Secretary General in this building, was the Minister of Mines. I was his chairman at the MMCZ, Mineral Marketing Corporation of Zimbabwe. I took the War Veterans Resolution into cabinet, the cabinet of the former President Mugabe, and they passed a resolution legalizing young people to dig gold. And the SME gold sector was born. What happens afterwards is a miracle in terms of the recovery of Zimbabwe's currency. By 2020, we're now at more than 20 tons of gold per annum. Today, we are at 51 tons of gold per annum. Why? Because the president has made sure that we paritize the price of gold between the global market and the internal market. So he killed the smuggling of gold, Comrade President Mnangagwa, because the price of gold in Zimbabwe is almost the same as when we're on the gold market today. So there's no more smuggling. That's why we're now producing 51 tons. I can challenge anybody who is here to, after this or now, to go and get figures of the World Gold Council about Zimbabwe's gold production. These are international figures. They don't come out of this building. These are from an authoritative trader of gold. Zimbabwe is 51 tons of gold per annum. This is at a time when the price of gold is increasing. When this happened in 2008, the probable gold was $700 an ounce. Today, gold is hovering at $3,500, maybe $4,000 an ounce. You can see why our currency is appreciating. Now, there is I'm dwelling on this because there is something I want to exercise, that the prosperity of Zimbabweans is based on chicanery, fraud, laundering, stealing, this. Don't be jealous about your own citizens if they make money out of the economic activity which is going on in the country. Don't be jealous about them. And if you have the template that only colonial people can be rich and not Zimbabwean people can be rich, then you are not for the new republic. Because the president Aruti, itai mari, vanavese itai mari kana mchigona. My youths, itai mari kana mchigona. I say this with a little bit of an angst, because some of the young people who have made money are not Scott Sakupwanya. They are branded as thieves, national thieves, when actually they are playing a very active role in the production of gold and making sure that young people who are digging gold get a price which is commensurate to their hard work. That's why they produce more. Maybe if I mention Scott Sakupwanya, you say maybe there's an axe to grind. I come from Chegutu. That's my district. Chegutu probably is the fastest growing GDP in the country today as a town. Between the road to Chinoi and the road to Harare, there is a company called Magaya Gold Mining there. This is former Giant Mine. 4 years ago, the young man came to me as a lawyer asking for my blessing to evict 5,000 to 10,000 SME gold miners at that giant mine. The reason why he came to me is because I'm the top politician in Mashonaland West. He says they are interloping, they are trespassing on our EPO, on the EPO of his clients, which is the Delagio Group, the one at PLS Mine in PLS Mine in Chegutu. I said, if I allow you to evict them, I will lose the elections next time we go to the polls, because these are Zanu PF supporters. Why don't you allow them to dig surface gold, which you don't need anyway, because it is at surface and it doesn't require a lot of capital. When they cream it off, they get into deeper shafts. They will require capital on a scale which they cannot provide themselves. You can then come in and fund them or buy them out. He went back to his clients, to his principals, that young lawyer, and they decided to adopt a method which I had suggested. 3 years later, I visited that place. I couldn't believe it. The amount of frenetic gold mining activity going on with mounds of gold everywhere, all of them annotated, all of them supported, with ball mills, everything going on. This company now produces half ton of gold every month. They've gone to take the model to Mazowe. They are taking it to Chikwekwe. They are now going to Gwanda. These are Zimbabweans. young Zimbabweans. I can mention the name, but probably I shouldn't, but I will. He's called Zweli Lunga of Magaya Mining. This is the new breed of Zimbabwean gold miners who are making money. So when you see the ZIG strengthen, don't be surprised, because these people are digging gold. He is only one of many who are doing that. This is President Mnangagwa at work. This is Zanu PF at work, charting a new economic path for Zimbabwe. I want to say this a priori because I'm going to entertain some questions. Then all of them send around black marking Zimbabwean entrepreneurs. Maybe there's a one bad apple here and there. Maybe there's one who is showy here and there. But that is not a reason to throw away the baby with the bathwater or to have a blanket condemnation of a new class of African entrepreneurs who are riding on the resource restitution of Zanu PF since we won the war, the land. What is above and what is below. This is where we are going. I'm going to read, there's a similar story going on with tobacco. Young people produce $1.5 billion worth of traded tobacco every year. This is not small money. Gold for these SMEs is around $2 to $3 billion US. This is money going to young Zimbabweans or to Zimbabwean families in Urungwe, in Marondera, who grow in Marondera. They produce the best Virginia leaf tobacco in the world. This industry did not exist before the land reform, before Zanu PF. But it is now contributing as the second pillar of the Zimbabwean economy, the sinews which I talked about. I go to steel. The president has done the same thing. We now have the ultra-modern steelworks on the African continent, and there's nothing like what we have in Europe, by the way. Zimbabwe is now galloped ahead of everybody in sub-Saharan Africa to challenge Egypt and Morocco in the steel sector. You will be happy to hear that at the guidance of President Idi Mnangagwa, we have reached out to what would have been our rivals in South Africa in the steel sector. We are now forging a synergistic relationship with the South African steel industry. We will focus on the raw steel production because our steel plants, blast furnaces, ultra-modern, very efficient, and the iron ore is next to the blast furnace. The coking coal is next, is not far away. The ferrochrome is nearby. So the cost of production of steel in Zimbabwe is probably unbeatable if we can address the energy issues. And this company has built an energy plant at its blast furnace. So the South African side have accepted that we have an edge in raw steel production, but they want to maintain their global leader footprint in this downstream fabrication of steel. You know, South Africa is number 22 globally in exporting cars. They actually want to jump from number 22 to number 11. And they are seeing the Zimbabwe steel industry at Manize as the ticket to them producing world-class steel goods at a competitive global price so that they can carve out a niche which is better than Morocco or any of the other competitors to them. So the president is reaching out to his counterparts. The industrialist, steel industrial company in Zimbabwe is reaching out to the counterparts in South Africa to forge a new relationship. I try to remind everybody that there are two countries in Europe which fought about producing steel, France and Germany. 3 wars, 1870, 1914, 1939, wanting to align the coal and the iron at their border. Germany was invading France 3 times. When America became the power after the Second World War, they decided to cooperate and they formed what was the Franco-German Steel Union. That steel union is what is called the European Union today. But we don't have a history of fighting with South Africa. We are friends. We're fighting. We're actually allies fighting together for the liberation movement. So we have a better template to start from, a better pedestal to start from between Tshwane and Harare. If we then throw Mozambique into the ingredient with its ports, with its gas deposits in Cabo Delgado, with its Zambezi River hydroelectricity, probably the three of us can set the price of steel on the global market. We can take even the Chinese to the cleaners. These are the things which occupy the mind of the president. And when he was out of the country, he has made a number of trips recently. Most of them have been focusing on how we can raise capital for the infrastructure which is needed to sustain the growth of the Zimbabwean economy at the pace which it has attained. 6% GDP growth per annum, even by IMF standards, is not something which you can frown upon. We are doing very well as an economy. But this is driven by big investors, billionaire investors in lithium, billionaire investors in cobalt and copper in the DRC. That's why the trucks pass through Zimbabwe going to Beira. Billionaire investors in steel in Zimbabwe. This is big money, but we don't have commensurate money on the infrastructure side so that we can take away all these heavy loads out of the roads to the railways. That requires big money. So when the president ends up in Japan, when the president ends up in China, these are railway powers of the world. We want them to come and invest in our railway technology, in our logistics networks, in our ports, so that this growth which I'm talking about cannot be throttled by an inadequate infrastructure. These are the things which occupy the mind of my president. These are the things which occupy Zanu PF as the ruling party. I say this because there are persistent efforts from certain quarters, and some of them have cropped into the party, where we want to be distracted away from the goal at hand, which is to deliver on prosperity to Zimbabwe. People constantly throw cobwebs on the ruling party. They want to waylay the president, to be preoccupied with the trivialities and false accusations, to make us be engaged in a witch hunt amongst ourselves, so that they fulfill the fact that Africans cannot work together among themselves. They fulfill the fact that only a colonial economy can function, a revolutionary economy cannot deliver. We refuse that in Zanu PF. Adamantly refuse that, because we have shown 22 years into sanctions that we can defy those who think they are masters of the world, that we can take advantage of a capital market globally which has become flat. Before, capital was Europe. Capital, I mean funds, were Europe. If Europe did not give you funds, you are fated to wallow in poverty. That's what Africa suffered from. And the only two beacons of prosperity on the African continent were Rhodesia and South Africa, because they had wide populations. And white attracted capital, black was denied capital. Now the world has changed. There are new prosperous economies, China, India. You can get capital in Riyadh. You can get capital in Sao Paulo, in Seoul, in Singapore, in Mumbai. All this is. So it has given an opportunity to Africa to ply the global capital market to grow their economy. And Zimbabwe is doing precisely that. It is because of the emergence of these new capital markets that we managed to defeat American sanctions. So lo and behold, today, in America, in the American Congress, the same one which surpassed Zidera in 2002, it is revisiting Zidera to repeal it. That's not happening because America has become charitable. No. It's happening because they have seen that Zimbabwe can defy the odds and can prosper even when America is denying it access to the capital markets. Now they are saying if you can't beat them, maybe they join them. We welcome that. This is a good thing for Zimbabwe. The American market is huge. It's the largest in the world. We even want a reciprocal trade arrangement with America, as the president said. Why the reason? Because we believe that we can export steel to America and make money. No other African country can probably do that. This is what Zimbabwe has attained. So you can't argue with success, and nothing succeeds like success. These are the issues which our president and his party grapple with in the Politburo. How do we keep the economic momentum which we have gathered so that it can be sustained? Can I see water? Sorry. The Politburo also gets preoccupied with issues of food security. Yes, we are aware that there's something amiss. Blue Ribbon closed in Bulawayo. This is a major miller. And there are our reports from our people on the ground in Matebele and South seem to say there may be maize shortages. We want to find out, is it a question of logistics? Is it a question of purchases from those provinces which are more endowed, which may have more maize, and it has not been taken to the consumers? So we have committees which are now engaging and supervising our Ministry of Agriculture, our Ministry of Finance, so that we can locate the nature of the problem, so that our people do not have to travel miles to get food. Our people are not forced to buy expensive refined meal by profiteering millers, because there's a shortage of basic maize meal. And if there's probably some national shortage, we're in a good neighborhood. Zambia has a huge surplus. South Africa has a huge surplus. We can just open the market, especially for those in the south of the country. They can just cross the river. The Limpopo River is dry in summer now. There's no boundary between Zimbabwe and South Africa. So these are the issues which occupy our party. The welfare of the Zimbabwe people and issues of food security are important. The issues of building schools. We need more schools. We need to provide more water. And we need to provide more internet connectivity to schools. We need to make village business units to work. Because once you provide water and you provide a solar, a village can become viable throughout 365 days of the year. They don't have to wait for one season to the next. These are the issues which are on the agenda of Zanu PF. I'm dwelling on this because I want to emphasize that we will not accept to be foisted with agendas from outside as a ruling party. We will not accept to be foisted with agendas from outside, and in some instances there may even be a buy-in from amongst our own cadres, sometimes even in high places in our cadreship. But we are not going to be deviated from the course, and the course is to consistently work hard on all those things which bring economic benefit to Zimbabwe, and we toss aside all those things which may be cobwebs thrown into our eyes about how we should run this economy, sustain its momentum, and become a beacon of African prosperity on the African continent. We are creating a genuine African middle class in Zimbabwe, our own genuine middle class, rooted in their day-to-day hard work on the resources which they were given by God, so that they can use those resources to build prosperity for their families all over Zimbabwe. We are not a country which has got only a professional middle class, like some of our neighbors who still have not carried out a land reform. I always highlight the fact that in South Africa, if a young executive is fired from his job, he loses his car, his child is thrown out of school, and his house is repossessed because they don't own those properties because they are on loans. In Zimbabwe, there are no loans. Everything which you see in Zimbabwe is owned, including cars on the road. They are all owned, they are bought cash. It shares, and in Zimbabwe, everybody has got money in US dollars in his pocket. Do you know, I lived in America. America does not give Americans US dollars. Its own citizens. They are not given US dollars by the American government. They work for them. So if you have got US dollars in your pockets in Zimbabwe, be proud, you have worked for it. It's not a gift from the American government. Definitely not a gift from the Zimbabwe government because we don't print US dollars. It's America's money. But it has been earned by your hard work. People sell gold, sell tobacco, people are selling steel, they bring US dollars into the country and they flood into your pockets. So even if somebody wants to fight, put inflation on Zimbabwe, it's not possible anymore because the money which we are using is the toughest currency in the world to operate with. It's America. We have domesticated the money of the superpower in Zimbabwe. Typing goods mari America muno Zimbabwe, US dollar. Yapinda pa foro, pa joke. Zimbabwe. This is kugona kwe Zanu PF. That's what Zanu PF does as a party. So I'm very happy that in America they are now in the House of Representatives. The bill has passed the committee stage to repeal Zidera. And one of the arguments was, because we didn't support them, now they are going along with the Chinese and the Indians. We say to them, the more the merrier, America, come on board. We have no color when it comes to the attraction of capital. Capital has no color. It can come from anywhere in the world. We will welcome it. More so if it is American capital because it is coming from a hugely successful country to date. We didn't make America great, they made themselves great. So if they can come to Zimbabwe, tinazo zvidobi zveko apa veku Washington. Vopinda vojoin MQ. If they can beat Chinese investors, so be it. If they can beat Indian investors, so be it. If they can beat European investors, so be it. But they will be assured of one thing, a very disciplined, educated, and hard-working population of Zimbabweans. If you give $1 to Zimbabwe as an investor, anokushamisa risatira doka yatodzosa ya profit. I went to Mount Hamden 3 weeks ago. A Lebanese American investor, he is manufacturing gas tanks near Sidco there. He has got a factory as big as 3 times this hall in Mount Hamden. He says he brought Nigerians to teach Zimbabweans. He wanted them to stay for 6 weeks. In 6 days, Zimbabweans had mastered everything which they were being taught. He had no use for those Nigerians. This is what we are offering to the global investor. A very, very skillable labor force. Converting from a Zimbabwean from non-skilled to skilled requires, it's a no-brainer. That's why we built a steel plant at Manise, those young people. The president is going to give them certificates. Most of the world are Zimbabweans, but they were supervised by the Chinese. Only steel came raw from China, and the technology inside came from China. But that whole superstructure there, yakangarangandwa nevana muZimbabwe, shash, hadzitani kubata. So with a population like that, with a country so well endowed, with a party which is so well committed, we cannot go wrong. This is where we are going as a country. I don't want to talk too much before I entertain questions, because the Mauya Makawanda, there must be a lot of burning questions. But I felt I had to make everybody understand that let's not be unduly critical of each other when some of us become prosperous because of the good work which we are doing. And when there's success, let's admire it. Yeah, even sometimes when there may be showy ones who do wayward things, not everybody has got a standard behavior in a country. We all come in our diversity. I'll entertain questions. I may come to a few other things as we go along. But for the time being, I don't want to be a monologue. Any questions? Yes.
So did the ratification take place? And if it did, what does the party believe it's about? Given that the serious corruption allegations that a long trail against and then the second question is...
Can I do one at a time? I don't know where the serious corruption allegations against Aguirre are coming from. Normally in this country, there are statutory bodies which deal with corruption. If you as a journalist has got those corruption allegations and they are valid, I encourage you to go straight from this place to the police station, report Kudakwashe Aguirre as a corrupt person, and maybe from here you also go to the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, you go and report him and submit your allegations about his corruption in those institutions. Because those are the institutions with a statutory mandate to deal with accusations of such a nature. Definitely the journalist, he can only allege, but he can't say, he can't, until you go through that system, which I have described, it's only an allegation. So I cannot comment about things which come from social media. I don't have a brief for Aguirre and his business, but I do have a brief about Zanu PF and the systems which it has put as a party to make sure that there is probity in the business conduct of Zimbabweans. So we have the laws, and they were passed by this party. It has been the ruling party for the past 45 years. Those laws exist, and there are statutory institutions which deal with those matters. Please, let's not use the public gallery as an arbiter of allegations of that nature. Because if we do that, we become a lawless land. Today it's you, tomorrow it's him, next time it's me. We can't do that. So go to the competent authorities to say, why haven't you dealt with Aguirre? It is not the duty of this party to substitute itself for the statutory organs of the country which deal with matters which you are raising, particularly if they are of such a grave nature. Yeah. The other thing about Chidamasa's statements, I am the spokesperson of Zanu PF. I speak for Zanu PF, and I speak for the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, who is the First Secretary and President of Zanu PF. I speak for him. I speak for the party. I am not the spokesperson of Patrick Chinamasa. So I can't be commenting on anything which he feels he may say at any particular time. It's his comments. It has nothing to do with what my job does, which is to clarify, which is to broadcast and give clarity to the membership of the party and the general public of Zimbabwe about what is going on in terms of appointments in the Politburo. Incidentally, and I want to emphasize this, I do not announce members of the Central Committee from the minutes of a Politburo meeting. I don't use the minutes as a reference point. What I use is an appointment letter which has been signed by the Secretary of Administration, Obet Mpov, which would have been bona fide cleared by the leader of the party, President Mnangagwa. When that letter is brought to me, I will come here and I will come and announce to you who is a Central Committee member and who is not. And that Central Committee member would have been duly informed through the appointment letter. So if that procedure hasn't happened, I will not announce anybody here. And it means that that person is not yet being in that position which is purported to be in. Does it make sense to you? Thank you so much. We had a Central Committee meeting here a few days ago. That individual was not here. There were a host of other names which may have been, which are justing to be members of the Central Committee. They have yet to be cleared in the manner which I described. I only deal, appointments means, like everybody has got a job, appointment. Bakatambira tsamba dzekunzi you are appointed as a journalist by whichever organization. Those who need to go futhi kupati kwedu. Kunonyorwa tsamba. It does not come from minutes. So me as an information officer, I don't go and read minutes. No. Ndomirira tsamba. Yakanyorwa. Obedi mpofu. And that letter does not exist concerning that individual which you are talking about. Thank you so much.
The second question, General Minister is being attacked senior Zanu PF leaders, including ex-president Constantino Chiwenga. Does the party see these remarks as an isolated outburst? And how is the party responding to the attacks?
Look, this is a democracy. Somebody may attack anybody. It shouldn't be done. We should also behave towards each other with propriety as common citizens of Zimbabwe. I have been several times attacked by the same person. He actually gets his meal ticket from whoever he sponsors him. Each time he mentions the name of Mtangwa or even my wife, we get some meal out of that because he cannot any hard days work from decent work. I've lived with him for a long time. So, look, maybe if I feel it is worth it, I may decide to take liberious action by the courts. I may decide to answer back. I could go for a press conference, and I've got a lot of things which I could go on about him. But sometimes you say one fool at a time. If there's a fool already in the ring, why do you want to join the ring? No, maybe you just leave it like that. Because kumusha kwedu zvinonzi kana benzi rakubira hembe uchigeza dzawakayanika rine marengenya iro iwo ukabuda patsime kana mudziwa uchiritandanisa uri pedzi benzi rine marengenya vanhu vanofunga kuti iwo uri pedzi ndiwe benzi. So sometimes you let sleeping dogs lie. I'm sure General Chiwenga will probably answer in the same way, but look, I will ask maybe next time he is having a public, you can also ask him that question.
Sorry, maybe, okay.
But we understand that these allegations will not extend unless you are implying that last week's policy was obtained by externals who produced a dossier on allegations of corruption in what I call less iron examination. Please clarify, because we know that there was a dossier that was presented to the Zambia Constitution that spoke to allegations.
There will always be dossiers against a revolutionary movement like Zanu PF. It is part of the existence of Zanu PF that in one way or the other, there's a dossier produced to, and invariably it's about trying to detract, to confuse, to deviate, to make the party deviate from its chosen path of delivering prosperity to the Zimbabwe people. I picked up about this dossier manufactured in South Africa 4 months ago, which we are talking about. And our president was already aware of it from that time, and we know he knew. And our South African friends knew the origin of that dossier. We also, as a party, knew of the attempts to foist turmoil within the party, to unduly propel a leadership contest which is off the timetable of the party at this particular juncture. We have a Congress coming in 2027-28, which will decide on what direction the party takes in terms of leadership. Some people may be impatient that that date may be a little bit too far, and outsiders may even lend these documents, these dossiers which we talk about. In fact, there was one at some time which was on the television as the Gold Mafia dossier. You know, they always come, you know, they do come. And sometimes if they coincide with ambition within the liberation movement, somebody may even buy them. And he may then try to see what mileage he can get out of such dossiers. But when it comes before the Politburo, we are very sane people. We have been through it 1,000 times. 60 years of being Zanu PF, we have seen it all. So in the end, those things, we just put them aside and we focus at the more important work at hand. We are not distracted by the dossiers which even your publishing house is prone to peddle. You're trying to foist those dossiers as if they are the be-all and every-all about Zimbabwe. They are not, those dossiers. What I have talked to you about, what we are doing with the economy of Zimbabwe and the delivery of prosperity to Zimbabwe, those are the things that nobody can manage. We are not, and my president in particular, this one, is unduly phased, is not duly phased by some of these dossiers which you claim to be. Maybe 1 or 2 of his lieutenants, maybe 1 or 2 people in the Politburo may think it matters. Maybe they may think it can give them some mileage in a purported leadership contest. But the Politburo is not unduly moved by those things. We just look at it, we put it, you know, we treat them like a dark fluffs of water as it begins to fly out of a pond. Atibatikani nazo izo blessed. Zvauri kutaura.
You speak about the Congress that is coming in the near future. Your party has declared resolution number 1, and that is, it appears it's casting as well. And your provinces are already endorsing the candidate of President beyond 2030. So this Congress that you're talking about, is it just what are
Can I answer that? It's a democratic party. And in 5 years, this man has restored the currency of this country. This man has built a power-based energy in Bwange, which nobody ever thought of. This man has given the country a steel plant, which is unparalleled on the African, even in European continent. This man. This man, he have removed the country from being a beggar of the World Food Program for food for the Zimbabweans. We are now producing wheat for ourselves. This man is building roads, even on the budget of the country when nobody else wants to support us. This man is attracting investment on a world-class scale, like having steel plants by the best investors available on the global market. This man has put lithium plants where Zimbabwe can now aspire to become a producer of electric vehicle batteries, where our resources are not being exported raw, they are being beneficiated here, giving this country a chance to become part of the industrial revolution in a globalizing world. This man has made many young people become billionaires, or at least give them a US dollar food earnings per day by growing tobacco, by digging gold. Now they are in blueberries, which are going even all over the global market. There is palpable prosperity which is being delivered to Zimbabwe. And the membership of Zanu PF is happy with that man. They haven't seen anything which they may want to say can blemish him. So they say, Rambayam Chigona Basa. They say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what they are saying. He says, I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in 2 terms. I wrote that constitution. When my day comes, after my 2 terms, I go. That's his view. So let's wait for the date. But it doesn't stop us from working on a day-to-day issues, on the economic parameters which we are talking about. Because that debate should not become the be-all and everything about Zanu PF. Yes, there are some people in Zanu PF who but the other people are saying, Shipela, Imbomirai, Ngwenyi Chashika Congress, Tokone Utimune Kodzere pa Congress, through the democratic process. The most important thing which Zanu PF and which the president is doing is to safeguard the integrity of democratic choice by Zimbabweans in the selection of the leadership of Zimbabwe. This is so important. Any other method does not and will not meet the standards of Zanu PF. And down of voterwa. This is important. So they are not saying that they are going to close out the election for a particular individual. They are simply saying that when the time comes, Pindai Muring, a winner, lose. So that's it. We cannot prescribe to a democratic people that we can't. This is a democratic party. It's a mass party. That's what Zanu PF is. It's a mass party. Vano join Zanu PF nekuda, vano buda nekuda, vano sedze, vano sharuza leaders awo nekuda. That's how we came into power in 1979, 1980 through democracy. But you know, your paper wants to champion other people. Kunzidai vapindai vamusiyoyo. Amuvote Zanu PF beparenyi. Membership Zanu PF ndo inovota. You may make noise as much as you want on your paper, but it doesn't change the fact that it is membership of Zanu PF which votes and not your newspaper. You may have the narcissism yekuti muri Alpha Media Holdings amuvhiri kupfuura vamwe. Kwedu atikendenge nazvo izvozvo. Hatina basa nazvo kusaidi kwedu kupata. Kuti munozviona sei. Kana paine vamwe vanouya kwamuri vachikuti dai matiita matipinza kana mazoita imimi substitute yevanhu vemavoters eZanu PF mozoita zvamunoda. But as long as the voters of Zanu PF and membership are there and they are in charge of themselves, we will listen more to them than to you. Your last question?
You're talking in terms of people who flash more, who are attempting to find a central community for places and suddenly change. If I remember correctly, in the last press conference, we had that day warning that the country has.
I still hold to that view.
Today, you appear because to be saying that this will be legitimate and you might be aware that it is understandable. Have you been censored?
No, I haven't changed anything. If there's a change, it's in your head, it's not on my side. I haven't changed anything. You know, you can't buy your way through Zanu PF. And if I meet him, I'll tell him exactly like that. You can't buy his way through Zanu PF. You know, netsa kutenga Zanu PF. I go kutengeka because people feel very possessive about this party. Every family in Zimbabwe in the 70s and 60s and 70s lost a member because they joined the liberation struggle. Vanhu vanoona Zanu PF sechinhu chavo. Saka they are jealous about their thing. Usaedze kuda kuchitenga because vanokuramba vakada kutenga. I can repeat that even if he's still in front You can bring him before me. You can ask me that question tinaye ndinomutaurira kuti kuZanu PF akutengwe vanhu. That I will do because that's a revolutionary. It's a revolutionary canon about Zanu PF. That's how it is. So I haven't changed. If there's any change about that statement, it's in your head, I repeat, not in mine. Yeah. Another question? Thank you. You see, there is again the same quotas. They wish so bad about their country. So they actually think that a steel plant of that magnitude is like a corner butchery in a rural area. You don't go close, it does not work like that. This is a big project, $1.2 billion worth of investment by a Fortune 500 company, number 259 in the whole world. Pama company yese pamsore panyika pano 500. Tsingshan is number 259. They have seriously thought about doing business in Zimbabwe to commit that kind of money in Zimbabwe. Saka kuti kuita ana magu nevamwana meno vamwana ana chikanza, something like that. Vanongomuka umba kwa Michael oti because yakavakwa nehanzi maChina akavaka saka yavhara. Azvidaro. This is a big investment. It has been operating now almost for more than a year from the day it was commissioned. It's normal that blast furnaces do have time where you close and then you tweak them to make sure that they are optimally performing. And this is exactly what they did. They produced so much in order to anticipate for the time of closure until October, so that the market will not be starved. In the meantime, they are bringing their engineers from China to come and look at the production process, the whole chain, value chain of production at Manise, so that they can tweak it so that it can perform at optimal performance. I'm telling you, as we are talking now, we are very busy engaged with the largest steel company in South Africa, which has decided to come into a relationship with Manise because they respect the technological prowess of the Zimbabwean counterpart at Manise. A company which has been #1 on the African continent for the last almost 70 years. He has come and taken its cap and thrown it into the, and bowed to what the technology Zimbabwe has delivered at Manise. That's why I'm talking about my president spearheading a steel union between Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Mozambique. We don't do it with the defunct plants. We do it because we have got a working plant. So musaterere zvinhu zvevanhu vanongoti akangoridzirwa kunzi saka Zimbabwe yaane steel yobva vasvotwa kuti haisi mvuto iya yemugomo iri paya papa. It's a big steel plant, a thoroughly modern steel plant. Ingavanzwisa magu like that. And they always want to talk bad about investment because yanzi yabva kuChina. Hakuna investments in of there yabva kuChina. America every day gets Chinese investments every 4 o'clock. Today, 4 o'clock, the Federal Reserve Bank of America is waiting for Chinese to come and buy their treasury bonds. 700 billion of them. This money is Chinese. Because when it pumps into the American economy, it works. China, China, China. But kunevamo vanepfungwa dzakapendeke munyika medu vanongofunga kuti chikanzi chachemaChina saka hachisenzi. And I ask Ana Magu, if you think this is a bad investor, why don't you go and bring yours from somewhere else? Even akatobva kuMars chaiko. Uya timbomuona avako steel plant yake, tomuona achiperforma, achiisa mastandards ari mumusoro mako Magu iwewe. Tobva tata ndio shasha. Kumvunza dororo hapana kana 1 chaanombounza kana at any particular day. Basa ndirongoti yei maChina azoti, look, there are 1.4 billion Chinese. They are bound to be good eggs and bad eggs among Chinese like in any other society. But that project is so big, it's so paradigm shifting. If you go on YouTube now, everybody's talking about it. The competence which is put there, the technological superiority which is there, it's fundamentals about changing the fate of Africa. The steel production, the consumption in Africa is growing at 20% per annum. The South African market alone is $3 billion US. Very soon we'll be having a bill to present a bill to South Africa, which take us steel. $3 billion US. That's how much South Africa imports every year. They probably will import more from Zimbabwe. Remember, this is steel. Steel is to nations what food is to human beings. Because without your bodies be strong. The only thing which can make nations strong, modern nations, is steel. And President Mnangagwa has actually delivered on a steel plant. I mean, this is like Mecca. This is like heaven sent. And everybody in the world is awed by the achievement of Zimbabwe in having a thoroughly modern steel plant. But you have got one vajaira kutakura mapaper bag ekutengwa vachienda kunotaura nevarungu vakasoruza kudhara. Varungu vanosponsor, why can't they put a steel plant? Why are they even letting the one in South Africa close? The one in South Africa is closing. If those people want to show that there is supremacy by the West, why is the South African steel company closing and ours is thriving? The one which is closing is not the Zimbabwe one. It's just on maintenance, and it will be coming back to production. I thank you.
So my last question. Of our choices that Comrade confronted Vice President that he wanted to unconstitutionally remove His Excellency President Namba.
The only reason why probably Love Matuke is coming out is because some people want to say because takanga tiri kuhondo, therefore we cannot be criticized. I was in the war myself. I don't mind being criticized by anybody. I don't mind being criticized by anybody. We fought so that there can be democratic discourse. So singling out Comrade Matuke, it's very unfortunate and it's not necessary. And it's being done by people who have information in bits and pieces. And what they are trying to do is to egg on, and I repeat this phrase, to egg on one of the members of the Presidium to be in a confrontational mood with the whole Politburo. It's not good for that member. And I'm not talking to him, I'm talking to people who are egging him on. You are different from the others. To survive a war, it's a matter of luck. And once you survive, if you begin to see virtue in yourself, because waka survive a wondo, then you are not respecting Wamuai Wakasara. Because for you to survive, somebody had to shoot the one who was going to shoot you. And that person who shot may have then been shot and died. You woke upon her. So it's not good chest pumping. And furthermore, I also want to say it. We never fought in Zanu forces, and I think also in Zipra forces, as generals. We fought as commanders and cadres and comrades. Atina ma general atati, but general anouya after the war. And a lot of the people who were fighting vakaramba kupinda mu army, vapedza hondo vakatapedza basa redu, vakaenda. Some of us, we just went to other lives. So the fact that they may be generals today has no particular bearing about the performance of somebody in the war. It's to do about the Zimbabwe Defense and its professional army. But some people were not clustered around a certain individuals at a particular time want to elevate those people. No. I had to disabuse during one of the interviews here in the Friday drinks about trying to elevate certain comrades from the war above others. Hakuna akanga ari comrade kupfura vamwe kuhondo. Tata angotakura futi 1-1. Indakanga tichirwa neyangu ndiri 1-1. Saka handina muwandinoona sunga agamba kupfura kwa zvandakaita ini. and handimbozoona ndiri gamba kupfuura zvakaita vamwe vapenyu kana vakafa. We just fought together. So I think any singling out of Matuke is not right, and I would hope that if those people who are doing it think they are doing a favor to that particular member of the Politburo, they are not doing him a favor. And I don't know whether he has got communion with those people who are doing that. I hope he will have the respect to tell them that they should stop it, because it besmirches his integrity as a war veteran himself, if it gets to that. Furthermore, that matter was just a kerfuffle. There was not much talked about. Somebody, the president came and said, there's this dossier which came from somewhere, and the Politburo says, we don't deal with dossiers which don't come from proper institutions. So we said, who is the author of that document? And nobody wanted to own it up. Somebody wanted to read it, but the president had already read it for us, so we knew what was inside. So the Politburo says, our president, we are not foisted agendas by outsiders here in this Politburo. This is neither here or there, so the matter was shunted aside. It was just, it didn't really had anything to do with the deliberations of the Politburo about on that day. The Congress, the conference in Mutare, definitely the issues which I've talked about how the president can close the gap between infrastructure and economic growth, what he's trying to do in foreign diplomacy to attract more investment capital to Zimbabwe, the quest for a Security Council seat at the United Nations Security Council by Zimbabwe, and the campaign which must go into it. Then the resolutions which were coming out from the provinces, including the organs of the party about the conference in Mutare, those are the things which occupied us, not this matter. Pane vamwe vanhu vanongofunga kuti Zanu PF ichateerera zvinotaurwa nana Hopewell nana Temba nevamwe vari kuonana Australia. Hativazivi kana taakutaura zvinhu zvine basa mumusangano medu. And the real don't matter, no matter who is sponsoring them. And their effort at trying to create a resonance within the presidium is coming. It will never bear fruit. It won't, because we take the job of running Zimbabwe and delivering prosperity and paying homage to the people who died for this country. We take it too serious to be distracted by petty agendas. Thank you. I'm not hearing you.
I want to understand what his take on persuade President Mnangagwa to OPM 2028. Are there any indications that the persuaders might succeed in their bid to?
It's a personal decision. It's a personal decision. It's him. You see, he saw what old age can do to a leader when he was vice president in the First Republic. So he must be very conscious in his mind about at what time one should go or not go. He is a very intelligent man. He has been long in the trenches, surviving. In fact, those who don't know, those who are against Zimbabwe, they actually wonder how he has survived to eventually be where he is today. So he has gone through it all. As things stand, he is of very sane mind about running this country and where he wants to go. But he is also very conscious about his obligations to the country which he has dedicated his whole life for since he was about a teenager. So I have every confidence in him that he will make the right decisions, as he is doing right now about this country. By the way, in all the sinews of the economy, which I have been describing, gold, tobacco, steel, I've been working with him. I have been finding somebody who is very receptive to very progressive ideas about where we want to go. And I remind everybody, I'm a diplomat from Brussels. I know the trade in goods and services, because that is the headquarters of the EU, the largest trading bloc in the world. I spent and went to school. I worked in New York. I studied in New York, the money center of the world. I know the value of money from the epicenter of money globally, New York. I went and I served in China. I saw capital change a backward third world huge country called China into the second largest economy in the world. I saw what foreign direct investment can do. It has been a breeze for me working with President Mnangagwa on all occasions to make sure that Zimbabwe can have the sinews of the economy which we are talking about. He is the best businessman in Zimbabwe today. Pane vamwe vanozoti ama businessmen vari kutaura hwahupfu. Vamunangagwa vanobvira kuchiri kurimwa chiri tsanga mhodzi kumunda. Ndoko vanonotangira ikoko yozoimwa yokohwe yosakurwa yokohwe yozopinda mudura. Ndokunobva Mnangagwa. He has been part and parcel of these decisions which I'm talking about, which have changed the country in the last 5 years. And I've been with him on each and every occasion. And I can vouch for you that when it comes to what is good for Zimbabwe from economic and business plan, he is second to none. That's why he can score such illustrious, such game-changing projects on the African continent, like a steel plant, like lithium investors. He is the first to break through, like restoring gold production to Zimbabwe to the levels at which we are. And I'm proud that on each and every those occasions, I've been lockstep with him. So I'm talking about what I know. And I'm prepared to challenge any economist or finance person in this country for debate. About what Mnangagwa has done for this economy. And I give him Gano Garisa some dish. Because what they were talking about this economy and what Mnangagwa has delivered is totally different. I'm glad I can read the phone gift. I'm right. So this is that's how I can put it. He's my friend, but he's a manawangu, by the way. So I'm not denigrating. He doesn't fall into the ilk of the other ones whom blessed propounds. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Chen Williams from Zimit Independent. I'm taking you back from when you said that you do not see color when it concerns you do not see color when it concerns investment. Are there any foreign investors or future projects that Zimbabwe might be facing?
Future investment projects?
Yes, and also investors and projects. That's
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you so much. At least now I'm being asked something which excites me. Yes. The first major project, which is urgent and President is going to announce it very soon, is Newman is a city. That steel plant will, you know what Zisco did to Kwekwe? Redcliffe, what he did to Kwekwe. That's what Manize is going to do to that area. So a special economic zone has already been gazetted. A board will be set up very soon. And there is a slew of investors from Turkey, from South Africa, from China, who want to come and put plant in Manize. The reason, because the company which is producing steel there is the best in the world. They know the quality of steel. So I advise varimuno majournalists kuti mozotsvaga maadresi kumanize edzimba dzekugara mastand, because the amount of iron ore in that area is enough for 300 years, if not more. The coking coal in Hwange is enough for 1,000 years. The ferrochrome along the Great Dyke is enough for 500 years in Zimbabwe. Saka steel production in Manize will be going on it's an intra-generational project. So if there's a likelihood that you wake up in the resurrection, you may wake up on the right address, yawakamingo uchigara. Enda unotenga emba kumanize. Kupfura kwamuri kugara uko. That town will be around for a long time. So the building of a new smart city in Manize is pressing. Incidentally, the 4,000, 3,000 to young people who were building that steel plant, vachiri kugara mumabarracks, havasati pavakwa. Now the pension funds in the country are now stampeding to Manise. The insurance companies, they are now stampeding to Manise to build infrastructure. There will be need for stadiums. We will need logistics centers. We will need a railway line from Manise to Mvuma to take away all that. The trucks, there are about 300 every week going to South Africa taking steel. We have to take those trucks away from that road. Otherwise, very soon it will be plowed out by heavy-duty trucks going to South Africa. We need the railway line back. So the railways need investment. That's why we are so happy the president was in China talking about railways. We need electricity. We need roads. This town is at the center of the country, equidistant from every part of Zimbabwe. So the whole enabling and ancillary, we need a dam on the Munyati River to supply water to the new town. That town will be not less than 50 to 100,000 people in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, Manise. So that's a project on its own. We need a new railway line from Manise to South Africa completely, all the way to Harare. This is important. We need more power stations. The World Bank is actually now putting more power stations on the Cabora Bassa Dam in Mozambique because of the expressed demand for electricity at Manise. But also there will be a lot of smelting of chrome from Gwanda up to Shamba on the Great Dyke, because steel's alloys have nickel or chrome. And because Zimbabwe and South Africa have 85% of the world ferrochrome, there will be a lot of investment in ferrochrome smelting between the two countries. A lot of electricity will be needed. So we are very happy that President Trump put $4.7 billion in Cabo Delgado gas liquefaction. That is for export to Europe, China, and India. But near those gas stations, those gas liquefaction plants in Mozambique, we want to build thermal power stations. We have to then construct power lines from Cabo Delgado to the consumption centers in the center of Zimbabwe because of the steel industry. So that steel to build the power lines will come from Manise. The cabling will need steel, it will come from Manise. The railways I'm talking about, the steel will come from Manise. That's why we are having a symbiotic relationship with South Africa and Zimbabwe. Because South Africa has got quite an advanced industry in fabrication, but they don't have quality raw steel like we have. So this is a symbiotic relationship between Zimbabwe and South Africa. It's opening up mind-boggling opportunities of development. I can assure you that the next industrial base of steel in the world is going to be between Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Mozambique. Izvozvo zvakadarwa naMwari, because zvinhu zvacho zvinonhadzira steel zvese zvakapiswa panzvimbo 1: ferrochrome, vanadium, manganese, coking coal, iron ore, zvese Mwari akazviunganidza pakati peZimbabwe, South Africa, in Southern Africa and Mozambique. Mwari wacho aitida. And power yacho energy tinayo iri kubva kuZambezi Valley kana kuHwange kana kupi. So these are the issues which are going to be the drivers of the Southern African economy for the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. Vachatapirirwa vanhu vachaibuya kuzoita mari kuregion kunoku because tinazvo zvatakapiwa naMwari. I hope it answers you. So the whole infrastructure surrounding logistics, that's ports in Mozambique, railway lines between Mozambique and Zimbabwe, between Zimbabwe and South Africa, between Zimbabwe and Zambia, between Mozambique and Zambia, all this railway infrastructure. Once you have a steel industry, these things become feasible, they become attainable, and that's what President Mnangagwa has done.
Fantastic. Are there any corporations?
And for that, we don't care, because njanji yekuAmerica inotakura chitima, njanji yekuCanada inotakura chitima, njanji yekuIndia inotakura chitima, njanji yekuChina yekupi. So that's why I'm saying capital is what? Is no color. We are happy with capital from anywhere. Tinotosvotwa nevanhu vanoti vamwe vanhu vakaunza capital votanga kuvatuka nenzira yeganda ravo, tongoti madofo.
And sorry, about the railways, my companies are listed on the railway project. Like, are you able to provide names of the
We want South Africa real. It's naturally our neighbor. We want to have a stake in that game. We want ArcelorMittal South Africa, which is a major steel producer in South Africa, the one which is now closing its plant because they want to buy from Zimbabwe. We want them to become a partner. We want Caminho de Ferros Mozambique, CFM Mozambique, to be involved. We want China Rail, which is the biggest construction company for railways in the world. We want them to be involved. Indian railways are already in Mozambique. We also want them to be involved. Indonesia is interested. Turkey is involved. So the more the merrier. And that the same goes for pipelines for fuel. The same goes for pylons for transmission of electricity. In fact, as I talk now, that workshop at Manize, which built that steel plant, the DISCO is prepared to lease it for toll manufacturing to Zimbabweans. The best welders and iron steel smiths in Africa today, Zimbabweans, wakavaka that steel plant. We want them to get a new life. Maybe the mining equipment, which is being used by our mines, which is imported from China. We now want that intellectual knowledge, and we start manufacturing it at Manize. We will become a country of steel widget producers. The metallurgists in this region are going to be world class. The American Welders Association, this is true, has actually decided to come and put an institute in Manize. This is like the maker of welding in the whole world. The American Welders Association. Check them on the internet. They are going to put an institute to train Zimbabweans about welding. World-class, uncompromising quality will be coming out of the technicians which they will be teaching at Manize. I don't want to lie to you. Any other question? Before you go to chicken in for me for haranguing you for so many minutes. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time.
No, it's fine.
Amene zvayakananga ine mupfuyo.
Yakana.